Today we're going to learn about buck rubs. First of all, what is a buck rub? Well, in simple terms, it's simply where a buck comes along to a tree and rubs his antlers. And a lot of hunters wonder what kind of information and what's going on with bucks rubbing trees. Well, there's a lot of research out now that tells us a great deal. First of all, we know that bucks do this early in the autumn to remove the velvet or the tissue that surrounds their growing antlers so that their antlers become hardened and polished for the fall and winter months. But we also know that they often rub their forehead gland. That's the brown patch between the antlers on a male deer. They often stop and rub their forehead right on that rub tree and check it and smell it. And what they're actually doing is depositing scent that other deer in the area can also smell and learn about who the animal is, perhaps how old it is if it's a buck, perhaps its dominant status in the herd. So a lot of information going on here at these rub trees. I often get asked, can you tell anything about the size of the buck based on the size of the rub tree? And the answer is sometimes. A fairly small tree like the one I'm looking at here doesn't tell me a whole lot about the kind of buck that left that particular rub. Because small bucks with small antlers can rub on trees this size just as bucks with large antlers. However, if you see a rub on a tree that's the size of my waist, one that's quite large, there's a pretty good chance that that's from a mature deer. So if you've got a lot of rubs in your area, some small ones and some larger ones, and you're trying to determine where to set up for hunting, I would encourage you to hunt closer to the larger rubs. Now you can also tell a little bit more about the animal from the rub. Pay attention to the side of the tree that the rub occurs on, because that gives you an idea of where the buck was standing as he stopped to rub his antlers. And if you can determine trails leading to and from a particular area, you can get a better idea of where that buck's likely coming from at the time of rubbing. When do bucks rub trees? Well, believe it or not, they rub them from late summer, early fall, all the way through into the winter months. So they rub fairly continuously throughout the hunting season. So you're likely to find new rubs at just about any time during the season, although most rubs are made during the early part of the season. Keep in mind again that bucks of any age can rub trees this size. Larger rubs generally mean larger bucks.
When it's late at night and you lay back.
When you're out scouting and you run across a rub tree, one important thing to really pay close attention to is the freshness of the rub itself, because that tells you a lot about how recently that buck was here making the rub. This particular rub is very fresh. You still see a lot of white tree tissue here. Often you'll even see some sap beads on it showing that it is trying to reheal itself, because it is basically injuring the tree. If you run across an older rub, particularly one that may be 6 months or even a year of age, it's going to be very brown, very dried up. It's not going to have this fresh tree look to it. So pay close attention. You can stop, you can feel it. If you're getting some sap on it, it's probably a fairly recent rub. Again, pay close attention to the age of that rub. That'll put you in the best position to cross paths with that buck of a lifetime.